Yeah! All right. Headed down into the woods. Here's some of the habitat work we did, you can see here. I'm gonna get down here and park and we'll... Oh, there goes the turkey. Looks like a gobbler. Yeah, it's a gobbler. You see that gobbler? I don't know if you saw him. Yeah, there he goes. He's like 70, 80 yards out. I don't know if you could see it on the GoPro, but there was a gobbler right down here. That's really cool. I love it. I love it. I could still see him, but he's like 100 yards away. Yeah, I love it. So we just spooked a gobbler. He was right down here, right where I shot the very first gobbler of this property 3 years ago when I bought the property. He had a bright red head. I didn't get a good look at his beard, but that's cool. He was down here hanging out. So that's always a good sign. Spring gobbler starts here in Ohio next Saturday. It's Saturday the 13th right now. Starts on the 20th, so I'll be out for sure. And we'll definitely be filming to try to get a good hunt and a good film on a good hunt, if that makes sense. All right, so let's talk about what we're doing today. So we are back at the habitat enhancement project here that I did on this point. We got that food plot at the top, and if you watch those videos, I talked about how the deer like to bed right up in here, but it was a little bit open. So we did some hinge cutting, we knocked down a couple bigger trees, and we opened up the sky a little bit more, and things are just starting to green up here. It's April 13th, and it's been over a month, or right around a month, since we did this project. So we're coming back to do two things today. We're gonna clean this up a little bit, just make sure that it's not too tight for the deer to kind of move around, and we don't want them to feel too confined. And then the other thing we're doing is we have white pine plugs. We got 20 of them here. So these are the white pine plugs, and we're going to be sporadically putting them in among this habitat cover that we did. So we're going to start low, work our way up this point towards the top, and we're just going to put little clusters. We have 20 of them, so we might put 2 or 3 here, 2 or 3 here, and that's going to create more diversity, more bedding cover, more screening, because we have to be able to get to a stand that's down here, which we'll be accessing from down in the bottom of the valley. But yeah, I thought I'd bring you along and show you what we're up to. So let's get to it, baby. All right, so we got this nice wall of cover here, and I took this big tree down and then I hinge cut some of these other ones. And the whole point of this was to create some nice screening, because right down in there is where it'll be a little bit visible for a deer to potentially see me about 100 yards away getting to a stand over there. But if they're up here bedding and we have this cover, they're not going to be able to see me. And the other thing is we opened up this sky quite a bit. Look at that. Look at all that sunlight coming down on this point now. So we opened it up probably 20%, maybe even more than that. So we're going to get a lot more shrubs growing up, a lot more greenery. It's going to become thicker. There's going to be more food for them to bed in and around this point here. You have the food plot up top. So ideally, this is where a lot of the doe family group will spend its time bedding, feeding, meandering around, and then the bucks will start to creep in as we get into the rut. So that's the whole point. And they do like to cruise right down through here because they can scent check this point, and then they're going to be walking right past me, and I'm going to be downwind from them in my stand. And so as I mentioned, today we're going to be taking those white pine plugs, 20 of them, and we're going to be putting them in and around this cover here just to enhance the diversity, create more screening, create more bedding cover, and it's going to really make it into a nice little habitat pocket. So the goal with planting these, I want to put them in areas that are slightly protected, kind of like natural caging, using some of the branches, some of the logs. I just want to put them in spots where the deer won't really bother them, where the deer won't really want to bother them, right? We don't need bucks rubbing their antlers on them. We don't want them nibbling on them. So luckily with conifers, they typically don't try to eat those, but we're going to try to use some of the natural cover as a natural cage to protect them a bit. Now white pines, they're shade tolerant, so with this much sun here, they'll grow just fine. And if we can put a little bit of put them in spots where there's a little bit of protection, it's going to be even better. they'll be protected from wildlife and they should thrive. So let's get to it. All right, so we got this big old auger that we're using for these plugs. So you can see this auger is designed for these size plugs. These are our little white pine plugs. So we'll be using this to help us create a little hole to plant these in. But first, I'm gonna put a little bit of, I'm gonna do a few right in this little pocket here, this right at the point, right in line with where my stand is. The deer aren't gonna be typically bedding right here against this little log jam. They'll be on some of the outside. They'll be on some of the inside perimeter, maybe on the outside over here, but I'm gonna do maybe one here, maybe one right in the middle of this, and we're just gonna do a little cluster, and then we'll move on to the next spot. So, yeah, baby. All right, so let's give it a go. I think his battery's dying, but that's all right. I got a backup battery. This looks pretty good. Yeah, I gotta get that other battery. But I think there's a nice big old worm. Put him over there. All right, so you take this plug, put it right down in there, like that. Trying to do this with one hand. There we go. So you get that plug in there, like that, and you just pack this in and around there. Got that wormy worm, I'll put him under these leaves over there. Like that. This looks like good soil too. Nice and rich. And that's pretty much it. It's real quick and easy, real simple. You could do 20. We'll do 20 probably in less than an hour here today. All right, now the only other thing I need to do is water that in. So I got a big jug of water, but I'm gonna plant, you know, probably 3 or so right in here. We'll water them in, make sure they're good to go, and then we'll continue working our way up through this habitat cover. Yeah, baby, yeah, I hope we hear a gobbler today. I hope we hear some gobbling while we're out here. I love it. Maybe we'll try to provoke one with our own gobble. All right, so I got 3 of them already planted. There's the first one. There's one right in there, protected by these logs. And then I got another one back here. So now I'm just quickly watering them in, mudding them in, making sure they're good to go. And we're just gonna keep moving. So it's a pretty quick process. All right, so last thing I did here on this one, it was kind of out in the open, and so I put some of these tree branches around it, some dead tree branches, just to create kind of a little bit of a natural diversion, just to try to prevent any sort of deer damage. All right, guys, so I threw one more pine in here. You can see I got a nice branch protecting it, and this is right where the bench comes around the point here. So this is kind of like right where the point is, where the 2 trails meet. Got this bench and then this ATV trail, and then the deer like to bed up in there. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're gonna go ahead and move up the trail a little bit, pop in, and start scattering some white pines up in there, baby. Let's do it, baby. You know what? Let's try the old mouth gobble. See if we can get a gobbler to go off. Ain't falling for it. We'll get them next weekend. All right, next order of business. A sip of latte first. Hell yeah, baby. Hell yeah. All right, so I just came up the trail here. It was a little slick. I had to throw it in four-wheel drive. We've had nothing but rain the last 2 days. It's been crazy. Anyway, I'm gonna go in first before I continue planting these white pines. I'm gonna take the bow saw here and just make sure that the deer have plenty of room to move around in here. So the deer around here, they like good cover for bedding. But what I've noticed is they're comfortable bedding where they have a little bit of a view, you know, maybe 30 yards or so. We are in a mixed ag area, so they have plenty of cover. I don't think they like it too thick, right? So I just want to make sure they can move around in here. The trails are open. We dropped all this cover about a month ago. Now we're just going to go through, clean up, maybe cut a few limbs. Just make sure they got some good spots to bed and to meander through here. They got good escape routes. Then we'll continue on with the white pines. So you can just see if you're a deer down here, you know, laying down like this. That's some nice screening down there. Also gives us a good perspective as to any other little fine tuning we got to do with this bedding area. So like right in here, it's a little open on that edge. I would expect some of the shrubs and stuff to sprout up. That is hinge cut, so that should start to leaf out. But we might put it in some white pines right along the edge of the trail there, because there is a spot there where they might catch movement if they're right here. And we don't want to see us walk into our stand. You know, even though it's pretty far out, it's about 100 yards out, you know, they'll notice that movement. So here's a human level view, right? Deer won't be up this high, but it's perfect deer height for cover, screening, and then of course getting in these little spots and bedding. So I'm just moving some of these dead branches. You can see I just leaned them up here, just kind of making sure they got a little bit of area to bed and move around. So just moving some of these dead branches in here, right? There's a lot of little spots they might bed. Actually, I think I see a bed right over there. It's windy out today. I don't know if you can see that up there. It's been windy the last couple days too. So this looks pretty good right here. I'm just gonna kind of meander through here. You know, some of these dead branches, I just kind of move off to the side. There was a little bit of a trail here coming through. So like a spot like this is a good example where I'm just gonna kind of open up this a little bit, right? They could obviously move right through there, but actually I want that to stay because they like to bed right up in there. There is another trail there. So we're not gonna mess with that. What we are gonna do, they'll go under this. I wanna get right in here and just open that a little bit. So again, we're just gonna move some of this dead stuff out of the way. Got this little bit of cover here. Got these hinge cuts that'll thicken up. I'm just gonna move some of this stuff here. Just kind of put it on this dead log. Like that. Look at that. Just make an opening here with the dead log. There we go. So there was a trail right in front of the Polaris that was crossing there. So they would come right under this, even a big buck, no problem. Meander up through this bedding area. There's another trail that goes out that way. So as long as I could walk through this fairly unhindered, then it's good enough for the deer. You know, we're not in an area where the deer are heavily pressured and they're going to want the thickest of the thickest cover. It's just not that way around here, which is nice. Especially during archery, there's not a lot of people out. So I based this habitat work on the natural state of the deer around here, the pressure, right? Surrounding terrain, neighboring properties. I took a lot into account before I came in here and did anything. Okay. So you can see this hinge cut sprouting out here. So we got some nice hinge cuts that's going to sprout up. It's going to give them food cover. But we got an opening there. And then any of these spots here, they can the bend in. So there are a couple branches I'm going to cut right here. So I'm going to put you on a hinge cut. So like this branch is hanging down like this. I'm just going to cut this one out. There we go. Just kind of throw that to the side. That should be good. Okay. It's looking good. Making progress. This spot here feels a little tight. But you can see how these hinges are all sprouting now, which is nice. Let me move this dead log. Yeah. I just want to make sure this is nice and open right around through here, which a deer can get through here no problem, right? It's not that big of a deal. But I want it to feel a little bit more open than it is at the moment. And I'm just doing this by intuition, right? So look at all these sprouts from these hinge cuts. I could see some scratching right down there. It looks like turkeys coming up and scratching in here. Looks like they were in here scratching. Yeah. So I think we're going to put a couple of those, we're going to put some pines right down in here on this side. Now that I got a better look at it, I think that'd be a good idea. So you can see we got this little opening here. Got a nice cover there. That big tree came down itself a couple years ago. So we already got a bunch of shrubbery and greenery coming up on that side. So we're going to get the same thing going here, which is nice. Looks like that one hinge is still caught up. We could probably pull that sucker down when we get over on that side. Yeah, looks like we got a little bed right here. Looks like something was bedding in there. All right, nice little spot here. Looks like we have another one right here. Looks like this is a little bit of a bed right there. And then they just bed, you know, all up through here. You got the food plot about 30 yards up. So they'll drop over the edge here, the military crest, bed right in here. And then those bucks, they'll start cruising the edge, come between here and the stand, great spot. And we'll be able to hold them a little tighter to the property here because of stuff like this. I don't think there's much more we need to do. We cut a few little limbs and stuff, kind of meandered, just clearing out some of the access, and there's plenty of escape routes, plenty of bedding spots that they could take up. And in the coming years, we might do a little more in here. It's a little open, but we really do got some good cover here, so this actually looks pretty good. Yeah, like this was an older bedding spot here. I'm gonna cut this limb so it's not laying right in it, because I know there was stuff bedding here before. And this is about 20 yards or so off the food plot. And then coming right through here, they got easy access through here. Here's one of the trails. Comes right through here to the corner of the food plot, starts right over there. Some other spots that are just perfect for bedding. All right, looking good, looking good. So we're going to continue with the planting of the white pines. We got 4 planted, 16 to go. I think an impact drill would do a little better job. But we're getting it done. There we go. Get that back filled in there, nice. Okay, looking good. All right, so I'll give you a look at this one. It's got really great protection. You see that? These trees all right down in here. So the sun comes up right out there, so this is going to get a lot of good morning sun. It's still getting sun now, and it's probably around noon. So another good protected spot for it. All right, you're next. Looking good. This one's a little bit out in the open, right off the bench here, this bench. So I'm gonna grab some branches, throw them around here. All right, so we got a total of 8 planted. You can see I'm right on the bench here. You can see this bench. Got good cover up there. So what I did was I threw some on the edge. There's one here, one there, and then the other ones we planted go around that way. So I'm gonna start angling up through here and just throwing in more as we go. All right, guys, so we got half of them planted. We got 10 of them planted. We are now up on the food plot here. You can see that rye starting to grow back. Looks pretty. And so we're at the very top here. What I'm going to do is start to plant the rest of these right along this edge here. We want to create some screening right around in here. So I'm going to use some of this thick cover to poke some of these white pines right into there. Maybe a couple spots over in here. And then I'll probably do a few down along the ATV trail. You can see we got a white pine over here growing. It's funny, this one, the bucks hit this like crazy every year. I mean, you can see this part's dead. I mean, they've been tearing it up, but it's still alive, so hopefully they'll give it a chance to grow. We could always help with that, but this is nice. I like that one, so let that to continue to grow. And so, yeah, we're gonna keep on going, and then we got to go through and water them all. You're supposed to water them when you plant them. Make sure they're good to go, and we'll see what happens. So, all right, we're almost done. 10 more to plant, and we're gonna water them in. All right, folks. Well, we are done. I just finished watering all of them in. I'll just show you a couple of them here. So here's another one right off the ATV trail, right on the edge of the bedding. Here's the ATV trail. I got a few going down this way. And then right up on the edge of the food plot, I got, what, 3 or 4 up there. And then coming down on the other side of that point here, I kind of got clusters of them going all the way down. So that's it. It took us maybe a couple hours to get them all in the ground, plant them, water them in, and that's it. 20 of them. So it's pretty quick, pretty easy. If you're going to use an auger, I recommend using an impact drill. I ended up just twisting the drill and it worked fine. The soil is pretty loose in here, and luckily we didn't even hit any rocks or anything. So hope you liked the video. Hopefully you got some insight, maybe things you could do with your habitat project. Again, we're enhancing diversity, cover, screening, and it should be good. So we shall see. All right, guys, catch you later.